Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another of our ND Ninja videos. And this one we're going to do is a little bit different because, look, we all love like these sort of animal relationship videos. You see them around of kittens riding on the back of tortoises, or you know, bunny rabbit and a mouse getting along, and everything like that. And it's so cute and so wonderful and so brilliant. Well, I'm about to talk about a animal relationship that went on for the past 24 years. A relationship between an orangutan, a spaniel, and a hamster. Seems too good to be true? Well, that's because it sort of is. Because actually, when I'm talking about orangutan, spaniel, and hamster, I'm talking about this orangutan, spaniel, and hamster. Yes, after 24 years, the Top Gear trio, the Grand Tour trio, have finally finished up as a trio. They're still doing their own things and doing their things separately from it, but ultimately they are finishing this year, and they were a big part of my childhood. I very much enjoyed the time that I spent watching them, and very much, every time a new series came out, every time a new special came out, I was one of the first to go, I need to watch this, I need to watch this. But I couldn't quite put my finger on why. Why were these of such interest to me? And really, I couldn't work it out. And to start off with, and by the way, by the end of the video, I'll basically specify what it is about it. But if you've got any comments as to the things that you enjoyed about these three in particular, feel free to pop it in the comments down below, or in the chat, any in the chat. But ultimately, I had to really dig deep and figure out what it was that was about it that was so special. Because here's the thing: it's obviously started off as a car show, but was it the cars that was what made it special? Well, no, because ultimately, um, this was how Top Gear started. See, everyone knows Top Gear started, really got popular in the early 2000s. I think it was 2002. But no one actually realizes that this TV show, Top Gear, had been going on since 1977. To give you an idea, my dad was 6 at that time when Top Gear started. And it wasn't this big thing that we see today. In fact, it was a local TV show. And when I say local, I'm talking about, I think it was 10 miles away from where I am right now, is where it started. And it was a car show, but not the sort of car show that you probably see nowadays, but more the car show for the used car salesman kind of thing. You know? Interest in the brake horsepower, the reliability, haggling deals, this sort of thing, right? It was, here are the top tips. In fact, when Jeremy Clarkson launched the reboot, the very first presenter, Jason Dorr, was a used car salesman. It was all about the motorheads, the petrol heads, and let's face it, I mean, I might count myself as one of them, but we are in short supply. There aren't that many of us, and there weren't that many of us back then. It wasn't that popular. So, if it wasn't the cars that made it popular, what was it? Well, the first bit of popularity started growing when it came to this. Now, this was called the Top Gear News segment, right? Now, when I say the Top Gear News segment, I'm not, it's we're not talking here about oh yeah, here is this car, here is this car, this is what it does. I mean, it started off like that, but it wasn't, right? In fact, they started to get famous when they were starting to talk about the things that were sort of car related but was still funny, right? So for example, the first one that really hit home, I think it was in the second series, was when Jeremy Clarkson spoke about the um, there was a new car, new Lexus, and but he focused more on the advertising because the advertising was dumb. And they were basically talking about the fact that, similar to certain supermarkets had really stupid slogans and rubbish slogans, Lexus had a similar one. They had a slogan for this car that said, "It changes everything." And it was like, well, you don't want to change everything. You don't want the car to change everything. Like, if you're happy with certain elements of your life, like maybe, you're happy with where you live or anything like that, you don't want it to change. So why do you want a car to change that? And why would that be the case? That was the first bit where it was like going, yeah, looking at the ridiculousness of life. The other thing they used to do was handling complaints. Now, these days, we always have these phrases like block the haters and, you know, you do you, right? Don't care about anybody else. You do you. Well, they handled it perfectly because they used to get complaints, and I'm not talking about the really serious ones. I'm talking about the stupid, idiotic ones. Bottom half of the internet stuff. Things like, "Oh, you're not interested in cheap cars. You're only interested in expensive stuff," and that was one of the complaints that they handled. Jeremy had a piece of paper going, all those people that say we were only interested in expensive cars. You're damn right, we are. They would. It was that thing of, so what if you complain? We're carrying on doing what we're going to do. The other thing I used to do as well was testing and mocking inventions and merchandise. Right, there was a bit where they would mock about merchandise, where it'd be like, how ridiculously expensive things are just because they've got a BMW badge on it or a Ferrari badge on it. That merchandise is stupid. And even today, we could sort of mock that sort of things. By the way, there might be merch coming out for me, but never mind. Um, but again, they would also use to test it. And I'll give you a really good example of one that they tested. It was a hearing aid, right? But the whole idea of the hearing aid was it was supposed to stop you from falling asleep at the wheel. So what would happen is that if it noticed that something was being tilted forward, it would beep in your ear. So it would wake you up, like, ooh. But then they went, oh, but there's a problem with that because if you go and change the radio station or you go and reach out the glove box, you get the same noise, and they showed it, right? It was a shame, right? But the testing and the mocking was a massive part of it. And if you ever want to see them mocking that sort of thing, watch the sort of like Christmas special news items, because that was when they were really having a laugh. And it was through this news program that there was a lot of controversies that were started, the Mistretta sports car and everything like that, and that's well documented. But I think because of that, the stuff that they did well wasn't documented. Let me give you an example. I am convinced in my mind that Top Gear is the very reason why the idea of women racing drivers is a thing. You got to remember, just have a think about the audience that Top Gear would have attracted. I said it was the petrol heads and the people that are interested in used cars. What are we talking about here? Middle-aged dads, probably, most likely. A lot of them having children, sons and daughters, and very crucial parts of potentially influencing the next generation in having the parents as their main audience. And they obviously, we know about Sabine Schmitz, probably one of my favourite drivers of all time. She is an absolute goddess, is probably the best way of putting it. And rest in peace, Sabine, you'll never be forgotten. But it was thanks to Sabine Schmitz that actually Jeremy Clarkson did a news piece talking about women drivers. And I'm going to sort of quote word for word. I'm going to update a couple of names that you'll see, the reason why. But yeah, bear with me on this. This is what Jeremy Clarkson said. He went, "Why aren't there any women racing drivers?" Now, they used to say it's all about strength, but with the technology in the cars, that's not a thing anymore. And the reason is that as soon as women put on racing overalls, they are immediately treated like a sex object. There was a poll recently to find the sexiest women racing drivers, pictures of them in bikinis and dresses too short. Now, when was the last time someone came up to Valtteri Bottas and asked, "Oh, could you pose in a red bikini for us?" Never. I mean, when was the last time someone came to Max Verstappen going, "Oh, could you get dressed in something 4 sizes too small to accumulate your to accentuate your assets?" Never would have happened. And the fact is that Top Gear and Sabine Schmitz were the reason why we've got this. In fact, there's a tribute to Sabine Schmitz. If you can ever find it, have a look at it from Top Gear. And there is one of the I don't know if she's in the F1 Academy, but she was definitely in the W Series a couple of years ago, where she basically said the reason was that her dad was watching Top Gear and her dad saw Sabine Schmitz and Jeremy Clarkson talking about women racing drivers. It was the very reason why she was encouraged to take up racing. So the news segment was very much a big part that started the popularity off. But really, the popularity only exploded when they started doing something special. And that was their specials. Most notably, this. There was Sabine Schmitz. I forgot about that. The Botswana special, right? Now, this was where they were doing their feature length stuff. You know, things that would last an hour or 2 hours, and it's genuinely fun watching them race across the world. Now, let me give you a list of the places that they went to. This trio as part of their specials. Now, under the guise of Top Gear, they went to Botswana. They went to the southern parts of America, like Florida and Alabama. This was after Hurricane Katrina, by the way, a year after, and showcased the devastation. They went to Vietnam. They went to Bolivia. They went to the Middle East areas, most specifically Iraq, Turkey, Syria, and Jordan and Israel, and Palestine. They went to India. They went to Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. They went to Myanmar and Thailand. They went to Argentina and Chile. They went to Nepal. They even went to Ukraine, went to the Chernobyl site. Even under the Grand Tour, they went to places like Namibia, Angola, Mozambique, Colombia, Mongolia, Cambodia, Madagascar, Reunion Island, Scotland, Wales, obviously, Norway, Finland, Sweden, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Slovenia, Mauritania, Senegal, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. And look, one of those places, if you are part of the community, I've wanted to go to before I saw the specials. But places like Zimbabwe and I think it's Slovenia or Slovakia, I want to go there because I've seen the Grand Tour episodes that they did there. And I know that we've got quite a few in like the sort of like the Sweden and Norway regions. If you want to see when they went to Sweden and Norway and Finland, I think it was the Scandi Flick. It was called. Have a look at that, especially on Amazon Prime. It's well worth the watch. It's good fun, right? But why? Why were the specials so good? Well, yes, it was the scenery and the geography, as I spoke about. Like I say, those places that I wanted to go to. But it was more what they did while they were there. You see, they had a few phrases, right? One of the phrases they came up to was the opposite of the Marines. We do leave a man behind. If one of them broke down, the rest of them would go, "Oh, that's a shame," and then just drive off and let them deal with it and let them deal with the breakdown, right? They'd do some stupid things together. But most notably, they would do pranks on each other. Now, this was one of those classic examples where James May's car, while he was sleeping, they filled his car with sand. Now, this was the simple stuff when it came to their pranks. But I tell you something, there was some hilarious, stupid stuff that they did. But actually showed that they had a mark of intelligence about them. For example, there was a situation with James May's car that when he hit the brakes on his car, it sounded the horn, which was obviously funny. Richard Hammond's indicators on another car sounded the horn. They fitted chandeliers to Jeremy Clarkson's car. They froze Jeremy Clarkson's car. That was in the Scandi flick, the Sweden, Norway, and Finland one, which was hilarious, right? And this is where we're starting to get close to what was really special about these guys. Because you see, it wasn't the cars as such. It wasn't even the scenery. It was, to put it simply, a bro code. What do I mean by bro code? Do I mean the Barney Stinson bro code of like being the best wingman for each other? No, absolutely not. This is more what mates do to each other. Right? Now, give a bit of an example of what mates would do to each other. You know that thing of you sometimes see it. I think I remember seeing a podcast about this, where as soon as they know you're okay, then they're gonna mock you, right? That if you're in an incident, you've been injured, but now you're okay, they're gonna mock you afterwards, right? This was a classic example of it, right? This was it in Denmark? I think it was. Can't remember where it was. Richard Hammond did a speed climb, rolled this Rimac, I think it was like £2 million car, and it set on fire. He broke his legs, all that jazz. And obviously, there was concern for him. I think there was a couple of tweets from Jeremy Clarkson basically going, look, there's been a serious incident. Hammond's okay. It's most important to find you guys know he's okay, right? And they looked after him. But as soon as he did his first appearance afterwards, where he was okay, what did they start doing? They gave him gifts of we've now given you some trousers that you can tear off so the paramedics don't have to use scissors to cut them. Literally stupid stuff like that. Special. They would mock each other, right? And Richard Hammond would take it on the chin and he would do the jokes with them. It was part of that. That was part of the bro code. It was something happened to you, we'd make sure you're okay, and then we'd laugh, right? Because yes, we care about each other, but we also care about having a bit of fun. And that is where this really does come good, because ultimately they were a laugh. The amount of times that they would be in hysterics, absolute maniacal laughter, to the point where you're watching it and you're wetting yourself laughing from the sort of things that they would do. Now, and this is what simply it's all about. Three mates having fun together. And actually, is that very different from what we do nowadays? Take the pranks that they mentioned, right? Who of us hasn't gone to a streamer and wanted to do jump scares, right? Wants to do pranks. What are the videos that we enjoy the most? Ones where they prank each other and have a laugh at each other's expense, within reason. What are the stuff that we enjoy the most? Being around mates. Even the simple stuff. Do you remember? I don't know if this was a UK thing, where they would stick two little fingers, behind someone's head without them looking, because it was funny, right? The stuff we would just do for giggles. And yes, it'd be at someone's expense, but guess what? We'd get it back at us, and we would all be teasing each other. We'd all be laughing. We'd all be enjoying each other's company, and that's the end of it, right? And you know where I said at the start of the thing of the orangutan, the spaniel, and the hamster. With Jeremy Clarkson being the orangutan, James May as the spaniel, Richard Hammond as the hamster. They came up with those nicknames for each other. Quite derogatory terms, actually, but they were having a laugh. And that's where I want to finish this off, because I want to say thank you to these guys. Thank you for being a part of my life. Yes, probably wasn't always PC, but ultimately they were just enjoyable to be with on the screen. Having a laugh at each other's expense, yes, but they were part of people's friendship groups, for want of a better word. And yes, I know they're probably completely different behind the surface, but there was something that Jeremy Clarkson said on a chat show. I think it was at the start of the Grand Tour. And I'm bleeping out a couple of things, but or covering over a couple of things. But he basically said it's like it's three jerks driving about. It's Last of the Summer Wine, but with cars. And by the way, Last of the Summer Wine, one of the most underrated comedies of all time. Again, three old gits having a laugh at each other's expense. Now, what I'm going to be doing on the YouTube video, I'll be giving a link to my Discord channel where I've put in a couple of compilation videos that sort of explain what I'm talking about. For those that are part of the community, I had it on lockdown until today. And it's purely to show the pranks that they would do on each other. And if you want to get a chance to seeing the Top Gear news compilations, literally just a YouTube search. I'd almost start at the most recent news and then go backwards to get your idea of how it was. But yeah, thank you to Jeremy for starting this all off. Yes, he's got some backlash, but ultimately, he was responsible for the biggest piece of joy that were part of so many people's lives for the past 25 years. Thank you.